There was this boy who was brought with a snake bite. We were asking which snake was it. And this guy who came from behind and opened a bucket, he's like, this is the snake. And the snake is hissing around everywhere. Putting on the glove. And then I see her arm, it's full of cuts. I asked her, is your hand a carrot? Like, she says, every time I fight with my husband, I cut my hand. That day, I go into the ward. There were a lot of cops outside. Patient is getting discharged, he's going to the jail. And I'm like, is he going to the jail?
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's done like some 7 murders. I was like, why didn't you tell me? I was like literally bonding with him. Yes.
Would you like to share any story that really struck you by surprise or stayed with you?
Yeah. So once, by the time I was gonna finish my internship, I thought like I have seen it all, like nothing can surprise me anymore because I used to see different cases on a day-to-day basis. Like that's what, it's a very interesting profession as well. It's not like a normal job where you see the same, it's not a job where you get to see the same thing again and again. It's never even repetitive. But one incident like which I will never ever forget. So I had duty again. I was in the medicine, we call it medicine department, again the emergency.
Okay.
So there was this boy who was brought with a snake bite.
Okay.
So in villages, in the field, snake bites are pretty common. Like, yeah, so they were brought. And then, we administer something called an anti-snake venom. Like it's called an ASV. To deal with the complications, because some snakes are poisonous, some snakes aren't.
Okay.
So we usually ask the patient or the attenders who come with the patient, like which snake was it? Did you see? Is it a viper or a cobra? So we asked the question. So the boy came with a bunch of some people from the village, and his mom and dad were there. And then me and the casualty officer, we were asking which snake was it. And this guy who came from behind and opened a bucket, he's like, this is the snake. And the snake is hissing around everywhere. And there are people panicking everywhere in the casualty, people running around. And it's me and the casualty officer just standing, bro, like, just keep it in, it's okay. And then it was chaos. Like, and then I was so curious. Imagine, like, this guy got bit by a snake. And they literally like ran, caught the snake first, and then they put it in a bucket and they had to get it here. Yeah, and I asked that father, like, how did you even think of it? Like, your son was bitten by a snake, and how did you think of it? And then they tell, usually the snake bites are common here, and we know that usually when we come to a hospital, the doctor asks which snake it was. Yeah, whether it is a poisonous, to find out if it's. So they decided they'll chase the snake. Yeah, they're not scared of anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, it's really crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So how do you deal with domestic violence cases or cases wherein the patient might be scared to speak up?
Yeah, I think the profession deals with people entirely. The doctor profession is how good you communicate with the patient and help them open up to you.
Yeah.
And first you should earn their trust, basically, like, so that they open up to you.
Yeah.
It's all about that, like making people comfortable and then making them open up to you.
Yeah.
So there was this case where a pregnant lady, she had like cut her arm by mistake, and she's cutting vegetables, and she cut her arm here. And then she's brought. It was late night. I was already on a duty. It was late 3 a.m. something. And then so I had to go just give her sutures. It wasn't very deep. It was pretty superficial.
Yeah.
And then I went and saw her arm, and like I was putting on the glove. And then I see her arm, it's full of cuts. Like it's full of previous cuts. And then
Oh gosh.
and I asked her what happened. And then she's like, no, I was cutting vegetables, I cut it.
At 3 a.m.?
Yeah, 3 a.m. She's cutting vegetables, and she's cut multiple vegetables. Yeah, and I asked her, is your hand a carrot? Like, how you managed to cut it with so much precision? Yeah, and then and then she's again and again saying, I removed my glove. I was like, no, I'm not doing this, because it's more than that. It's not like it's a repeat incident which is happening. She needs more than just suturing. She needs some counseling.
Yeah.
She needs a psychiatric opinion or an evaluation as well. And then her husband is peeping from there. And then I kind of felt she was feeling a little scared and uncomfortable. So I told him, just stay outside, like, and then I asked her what happened. And then she says, I had a fight with my husband. Every time I fight with my husband, I cut my hand.
Oh God.
And wow, okay, this is another story. And I'm like, okay. And then I had to like, she was pregnant as well, so we have to dilute the anesthesia, and like we have to be careful. And I had to suture her up. And then I was like, okay, next time you have a fight with your husband, don't cut yourself, cut your husband. Just kidding. Yeah. So yeah, that was one thing. Yeah, it all ultimately depends on making the patient comfortable and feel at home and communicating with them. So
Yeah.
I think that's a key.
Did you ever have to perform a doctor duty when you were technically off duty?
Yeah, I guess doctors are always on call, I guess. Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, I was doing a couple of duties just recently in my residency, and then I had to go for my friend's wedding. So finally, somehow I convinced for like a couple of days off from my residency. I was so excited to go to my friend's wedding. I was super happy. And then, yeah, I'm boarding this flight. Already I was very sleep deprived. I thought, okay, the flight it was a 2.5 hour flight. I thought I'll sleep, just like do nothing, just sleep. And then I get this, suddenly we were like half an hour on the flight later. There's suddenly a call saying, is there any doctor on board, and the entire flight is panicking. Like I'm like waking up, oh, what's wrong? Okay, I am the doctor. Yeah, okay, let's go. What's happening? And then there's a patient lying in the aisle. Like, yeah, and there are people surrounding him, like, and looking at him, staring at him. He was unconscious.
Oh my God.
And then, yeah, so everybody were like, oh, what's happening? And then they call me, and then I go in, and then I don't even know the history of the patient, like what's happened. I just see him like that, but he was with his parents. And then I asked them what happened to him, like what happened suddenly. And then he was walking, and then he fainted. And then, no, did he have a history or something? And he was young, he was like 35 years old. And then I asked him what happened, the parents, and then they say he's been having fever for like a day or so. And then I thought maybe he was dehydrated or something, and I asked them, did he vomit or something like that? They told me, yeah, I think he vomited once or twice. They weren't really sure as well. So they just met him to travel. And then I checked the pulse, it's really feeble. And then I asked for the BP apparatus, and the BP was very, very low. It was like the volume, there's no volume literally. And yeah, in the flight they had to like rush, get the kit and everything. But I don't know, they don't have these IV line, the cannula in the flight, nor do they have the IV fluids for us to rush it for dehydration. So we had to like immediately somehow wake him up, get him up. We had to pull him near the cockpit, like just outside the cockpit. And then give him like, try to give him ORS and some fluids, and like try to get his BP up. And literally I spent like 1.5 hours, the next 1.5 hours sitting right next to him with a BP apparatus and a steth in my ear, just constantly monitoring his BP. Yeah, so I was like, this was so different for me, like treating somebody on the flight. Yeah, I'm not gonna complain that this has happened to me. I wanted to rest in something. I got to do that. I'm happy I got to do that. Like, and yeah, everybody was so happy around. They were just like so thankful, and the crew were extremely sweet. They gave me a really sweet note. Like they wrote a note for me, and then they gave me a huge hamper as well. And then I was already hungry and sleep deprived, so that helped me a bit. Yeah, that moment, yeah, when everybody is like appreciating you again, it felt good. Yeah, like that you were able to do something.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
Yeah, they were
it
like,
must be really heartwarming.
yeah, it was. And they were asking me, should we land at the nearest airport? Should we land at the nearest? But by then his BP was okay. I was like, no, let's go. I have my friend's wedding to attend. Yeah, so that is important too. Yeah. And then I'm telling him, I got you, bro. It's okay. You're good now. You're good. Yeah, just don't panic. And then later he tells me, I ask him, what happened? Like, how did this happen? He's like, I vomited like 6-7 times.
Oh.
Yeah, so then because he can't go into such a low volume just like that. So he didn't tell his parents much. He was just telling, I just vomited once. So yeah.
Awesome. Would you like to tell us about any conferences that you've been to? Since I know that you've represented the country in many conferences around the world, would you like to elaborate a little more on that?
So yeah, like in my undergrad days, so I was selected to represent the country in the Asian Medical Student Conference for the first time in Singapore. And then subsequently I've attended 2 more conferences, one in Seoul in South Korea, and one in Bangkok, and one in Jakarta as well. So I've been on a few conferences representing India. It was a nice moment. It felt nice doing so. It was more like some Olympics types, yeah. But it was a lot of fun as well, like not just medical stuff, where you like meet people, like meet medical students from different countries and know what's going on there, and not just be stuck to your own shell where you're here. That increased my exposure a lot, meeting different people, the way their healthcare is in different countries. So, and I was an exchange student in Philippines, so I was there for a couple of weeks in Manila. So Pamantasandi, Manila, the name of the university. So I was there as an exchange student for 2 weeks. I was with them, getting to know them. Because everything varies geographically, the disease patterns, the treatment patterns, like their mindset, everything varies. So that exposure really helped me a lot. Like, yeah.
That's really amazing. While I was researching about I also got to know that you were elected as the National AMSEP Director. So I'm assuming that you were that nerdy kind of a person.
No, I wouldn't associate myself with the nerdy kind, but I liked, I was into research, yeah, well, all these paper presentations and conferences, and yeah, it's just kind of the more you do it, the more it's like a sport. So yeah, I've always told you I'm into some sport or the other. It just felt like you want the urge to like do it better, be better at it. The first conference I went to Singapore, I presented a paper, and we were a group of, it was a 20-member delegation, 5 people for paper presentation, 5 people for poster presentation, 5 for white paper, and 5 for movie making. So as part of the paper presentation team, and then you send your abstract and your paper, and then they'll approve only 7 papers to be shortlisted and presented there.
Wow.
So the first time in Singapore, when we went there, mine wasn't even shortlisted. Our paper was like not even shortlisted of top 7. So we were all like very sad. We're like, why are we going to Singapore, and like, oh, we're not even selected. But we had an amazing experience there, like seeing the papers. And every conference has a theme. So the theme of the Singapore conference was geriatric medicine, which is elderly care. So what we decided was, we saw patients with heart condition, coronary artery disease, and their associated depression or anxiety or loneliness that affects their heart condition as well. We tried a correlation. It was a deep study. So we tried it. We were in different geographical locations. I was back here in Tamil Nadu, and they were there in Delhi, and one more girl was from Punjab. So we combined everything and we did the research. It was a lot of work, but then we didn't get selected. And then finally we go there and we went to witness the paper presentation. And the paper which won was Sex Never Gets Old. Yeah, that was a paper. It was a simple paper on the sex drive of adults, like elderly ones. Yeah. And that was so relevant, and that was so catchy, and catching the trend and everything. It was a student conference. That was a paper which won. So, and then it made me learn a lot, like what to do, how to like be more presentable, like more attractive, how to come up with better presentations and stuff. And then subsequent conferences I went to Seoul. Like Seoul was my last conference. So that time, that year was a very good year for me. Thankfully I was elected as the National AMSEP Director. And then that time, so I was the head of the paper presentation team that time, because I was a senior then. So this time I told, there were 2 successive defeats in Bangkok and in this one. So I told them, you know what, like we are getting, no matter what, we are gonna do something about it. Gonna win it. People were like, oh, there's a bias, India, they won't choose as paper, they'll choose this country, that country. I don't believe in all that. Like if you do your best, like you just keep knocking on the door, someday it will reward. Like that's just what I feel. So when I went there, we had a team of 5 people. So we were like discussing, the theme of the conference was errors in medical field. And it's a very sensitive topic as well. So you can't be like, doctors do this, doctors do that, or nothing is intentional. Like it's a very sensitive topic, right? So we decided we'll deal with prescription errors. So errors in prescription, where people write prescription. Doctors, I'm sure you know, we have a terrible handwriting. So there have been instances where the drug has been misread and a wrong drug has been given to the patient.
Oh.
And there are some guidelines on how a prescription should be. There are WHO guidelines, there are ICMR guidelines on a prescription should contain this name of the tablet, the dosage, the strength, the side effects, and next visit when it should be, the name, everything. So we decided to study prescriptions all over in different setups in our thing. And a lot of them did not have anything. It was just like plain, just tablets, very illegibly written. So there was a lot of consequences because of that. So we decided this would be our thing. But then I remembered Singapore, the catchy title, like, so I had to come up with a title. Like, we all were brainstorming for a title. And then we were brainstorming quite a lot, like more than the research. We were like, yeah, definitely we should come up with a good one. What would you come up with? Yeah.
Prescription error or handwriting error costing your life, something like that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that would be good. Like, but
what did you think of?
So our paper was called A Prescription for the Right Prescription.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, and we ended up winning the paper competition that year.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a very happy moment. Like, yeah, when we were able to do that. And it was a very elaborate study also, so not just the title but for it also. And yeah, it felt good. It was my last conference as an undergrad student, so it was overall a nice experience. Yeah.
Okay, now want to make things a little interesting, right? So there's this notion that doctors are always perceived as really boring and serious people. Okay, so tell us about something really interesting that has happened in your life, some really interesting story or experience from your journey.
Do I give out those vibes, like a boring and a serious one?
I don't think so. That's why I asked you this question.
Okay, thank you for that. So yeah, like we just like other students, other people, I guess we make sure we have fun as well. Like, we have a very social life. People ask me like, how can you have such a social life? You're working, you're on duty all the time. But yeah, again, it's about the balance, striking the balance between the personal life and this. And there are people who complaining that they don't have time for this, they do work and they do that. Like, there's no compromise for me. I need my share of fun. I need my share of I make sure I go play a sport. I play basketball. I go dancing. I go out with friends. I go have fun with my friends. I go all out, and I have a huge circle which is full of non-doctors. So they don't talk anything medical to me. Right. So they don't know anything medically. So it's very satisfying for me because inside the hospital setup and around here, we all talk about the same thing again and again. Yeah. So I'm very thankful to my family and an amazing group of friends who actually keep me very grounded and very happy, like talking about the rest of stuff. If I was with just doctors, like my dad used to ask me, like, doctors usually have friends only with doctors. How do you have so many non-doctor friends? Yeah, but I actually feel so comfortable around them because I don't need to talk about my profession with them. Right. And I get to know a lot of stuff from them, and it helps me be a better doctor as well. Because, as I said again, it's about the connect you make with people. Right. Being a doctor. And the more you know about people, the more problems you know about people, the whatever they experience outside the medical world. And then you can relate to people when they come back. Hopefully they don't come back as patients. Yeah, when they come again, like come as patients, you know, like what's running through their mind. Yeah, that way I'm able to relate to them. So yeah, having a social life is I think it's very important. Yeah, otherwise it'll keep you in the loop. It'll keep you again and again stressed. Now you don't need anything else. Like if you have like other positive distractions, let's call it that, like a good set of friends, people who you can share stuff with, I think it's for the better. And I don't think we'll have a boring life anyway. I've seen doctors party really hard, have super fun. Even in these conferences that I went to, we used to have this cultural night where we used to perform our traditional dances, cultural booth. And then we used to have a post-conference trip as well, so organized. I still remember we took a jet ski. We in the Singapore conference, the post conference was Langkawi in Malaysia. So we took a post conference trip and we hired a jet ski like in the morning. It was supposed to be a island hopping tour. Okay. So we were supposed to hop like 7-8 islands from morning till evening. There's a guide who goes in the front and me and a friend of mine, we going in another jet ski following him. Yeah. Like the middle of the ocean. So and this guy is challenging that guy, let's go for a race.
Yeah.
That guy, initially this guy was pissing him off a lot. Yeah, he sped like so fast, he was speeding.
Yeah.
And we lost sight of him.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we lost sight of him. And in the middle of the ocean, we don't have a phone, we're not carrying a phone.
Oh my
we don't have anything. So we literally all by ourselves in the middle of the ocean, just the two of us. And we decided like yeah, we have handled stuff back there, so let's try handling this. So we were jet skiing around, the fuel was full, so we were happy. We were island hopping and we figured out islands. We were island hopping on our own. So we used to go take a jet ski to an island, and we used to go around and see if our guide was there, and then go get on the jet ski again, go to the next island. And we were all alone till evening, I guess, like around 8 hours we were in the sea, just
Oh my
roaming
God.
around. Yeah, finally that guy was out of nowhere, he's coming up, he's like, bro, where did you go? He was searching all over for us. And then we came back. So it was, yeah, we have our share bit of fun as well. So yeah, that's how it goes.
Won't challenge you again. What 3 tips would you give to a normal person to preserve joints or bone health as an orthopedic surgeon?
Yeah, so basically it's just your lifestyle which defines everything. So eat healthy, probably eat a good diet, like have a good diet, take your calcium supplements, and then yeah, keep yourself fit. Like just strengthen your muscles, have a good physique. It's always good to be fit, not just for physically, it just improves your mental health as well. It like the stress we were talking about that we're dealing, it relieves a lot of stress as well. So I think that would be the major advices. Not too wise to give advices now, but like yeah, I'd recommend these to them. Yeah.
All right. So if you could go back in time and give your first year medical student self one advice, what would it be?
Advice, yeah, I would just tell him enjoy the journey. It's an amazing journey ahead. Just enjoy the journey. Don't complain about the small things. There's always a brighter side to everything. Just manage to look at it, and like just keep enjoying whatever you're doing, because the entire journey is very beautiful. To be honest, very gratifying as well. And if you do it like for the love of doing it, and if you genuinely want to like make a difference in people's lives, influence them in a very positive way, I think this is an amazing profession. It's not about the money. I think it's much more than that. Yeah, because like people have this conception, doctors on this, doctors on that. Like if you work hard, I think any profession you can pull off money, but the amount of gratitude and that you get and satisfaction at the end of the day is unparalleled. So I just ask him to like, even if something comes by you, a hard phase, just say it'll just pass, and you can just get past it, because life is much more, like there's much more ahead. Like when I was in first year, I used to think this was a big problem, and then when I came to second year, I was like, oh, that wasn't even anything. Like they always say, no, it's just one more exam, that's it, done. After 10th they say only exam over, public exams over. 12th they say the same thing again, medicine they say. But life is a hustle. Like I think you just need to keep running and enjoy it while you do it. That's it.
Yeah.
Make sure you have fun. You do everything you want to do as well. Balance out everything. Yeah. And I make sure that I try my best to balance out stuff, because I play basketball. I used to play basketball for college, and even when I'm on duty, like imagine I have a match or something, I never compromise on that 1 or 2 hours. I used to take permission, go play, and then come back, and even overcompensate with work, but never like drop on everything, never complain. Like just stop complaining and start enjoying. That's it.
Do you think that the current medical system or the healthcare system just in general needs any reforms? Do you have anything in mind? Any suggestions?
Just maybe I'd have a suggestion in mind. I think a lot comes down to better communication with the attenders accompanying the patient's relatives, or those who accompany the patient, is to keep them informed, because they come to the doctors and then they put their entire trust on the doctor, that the doctors, they're everything, they don't know anything more medically, so they put the entire trust on the doctor, and they want the doctor to keep them informed as well. But coming from a doctor's side, when a doctor has simultaneously like 6-7 patients in the emergency, he can't spend more time with the family and like telling them, clearing all their doubts, something like that. So this is where I can believe some counselors can come in the middle,
Yeah.
like between the doctors and the patients' attenders, where they can like monitor whatever's happening closely, and they can go talk to the patients' attenders about it, about what's happening, this is happening, that is happening, and keep them comforted and
Yeah, I think that should actually be done.
yeah, like keep them in the loop maybe,
Yeah.
so that they are aware of what's happening.
That's a great suggestion, I feel. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and yeah, because they need it as well. They shouldn't be kept in the dark about what's happening, because for them suddenly it's broad. They don't know anything. They're just clueless most of the time. For an hour or two, they're just waiting outside anxiously.
Yeah.
It adds up to everything. And then yeah, so most of the time we doctors, we try to explain the situation to them that this is happening. We're doing this. We're doing that. But there are times when the workload is more. That time I think this would come of help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure this could be done. I mean, I'm sure this could be more feasible for a private setup, but do you have any suggestions for a public setup as well?
Oh yeah, so definitely for a government setup, like the funding on such a huge scale to involve a lot of counselors will be actually really difficult. That's where I think NGOs can come into the picture. Like a lot of amazing NGOs doing a lot of amazing jobs. They can like come in here and have a helping hand here, like involve actively here in healthcare.
Yeah. So the next question I'm really curious about. I'm sure that you might have gotten a lot of high-profile cases, like with a lot of police attention or like a lot of media attention. How do you deal with such cases, and how do you balance out, like how do you treat every patient equally and literally the same?
Yeah, like working in some setups, yeah, you can get recommendations that this person is this, that person's that. But like I guess every patient, they're the same. Like we just treat the condition and the disease. And speaking of high profile and police and stuff, I was like when I was doing my ICU duty during my internship period, again a very happening period I guess. So that time there was this grandfather, very old guy, and he was very sick, extremely sick. That's the reason he was in the ICU.
Yeah.
So and then me and my co-intern, there's a co-intern, one girl, we were taking care of him. We just like wanted to make sure he was okay. So every day morning, evening, morning, and we used to check on him. We used to constantly be monitoring him all the time. And he was really sick. We really thought he wouldn't make it. And then finally he started improving like in a week. And then finally my duty was ending. That day I go into the ward. There were a lot of cops outside. The police, like too many, like there were a few cops. And then I was like, what's happening? I go ask the nurse, like, what's happening? Why are they going? And that grandfather used to be very affectionate towards me. I used to sit and talk to him for a while once he got back.
Sweet.
He used to tell me stuff and I used to share stuff with him. And then suddenly I go to the nurse and then it's like that patient is getting discharged, he's going to the jail. And I'm like, is he going to the jail?
my God.
Yeah. Why is he going to the jail? Did he do something? And then the nurse asks me, sir, you didn't know he's a convict case. He's done like some 7 murders.
Oh my
so
God.
He's in that like lifetime imprisonment. He was there.
Yeah.
So they brought him from the prison to here. I didn't know that. So I was like, why didn't you tell me? I was like literally bonding with him. It wouldn't have changed whatever I did, but like, and I was like too young as interns. And then the nurse tells me, yeah, they're going back. So the police have come to take him. And then suddenly he calls me. And then he calls me and he's like, come, son, you come here. And then he's like, thank you so much for taking care of me. You took care of me really well. You just wait here. My brother will come. I want to introduce you to my brother. Like, you really have to meet him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, uncle, it's okay. No, grandpa, it's okay. I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm happy. You're happy. Leave. And then my co-intern, she wouldn't even come near. She's like there. Yeah, and I'm like, okay. And then suddenly the brother came. And then he says to his brother, sir is one among us. And I'm like, no, I'm not one among you. And then he's like, out of love, he's saying,
Yeah.
if anything happens to sir, you have to be there for him.
Yeah.
He was like proper, he was looking all macho, that younger brother.
Yeah.
He was like so kind to me. It's like, you took care of my elder brother, sir, you give me your number. And then I had to give him leave, dial my phone, and I gave him my number. And then he said, any problem you have here in this hospital or anything, give me a call. You don't even hesitate. And
Sweet.
trust me, that love, it was such pure love. And he used to, till I was finishing internship, I had like some 6-7 months left.
Yeah.
He used to call me every month and he used to check on me. He used to be like, sir, are you okay? Sir, are you okay?
Oh.
Yeah, that
That's
was
really
a very different experience, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting, pretty interesting. Okay, so you did your undergrad from a tier 2 city, right? You did your MBBS from a tier 2 city. So tell us what kind of cases would come up to you in a tier 2 city?
Yeah, I have like amazing experiences. I guess in the tier 2 cities, the cases are very different from the tier 1 cities.
Yeah.
Less sophisticated, more brutal and more violent cases. Yeah, it's all like sickle cuts and
Oh my God.
trauma like that. Yeah, such violence. So this when I was in my first week of casualty, I have seen a guy with a sickle on his head, like sickle on his
My
head.
God.
Yeah, literally bleeding, sickle on his head. And it was, yeah, I'm like, what's even happening? And then he was all, his pulse was feeble, everything, his vitals were all gone. We had to transfuse a lot of blood. And then somebody comes, it's like he got into a fight there. It wasn't like a very deep one, but it was superficial, but it still led to a lot of bleed and stuff. Yeah. And it was a very different experience that this guy, and we had to like transfuse a lot of blood. We had to give him a lot of fluids and raise his pressure up, because if we remove the sickle, like he might bleed out, because we don't know what's clinging on to, whichever artery or vein is clinging on to. So it was a lot of work. We had to be with him, and thankfully there was an amazing surgeon, sir. He was there on call, so we just shifted him, and there was this moment of truth where we had to remove the sickle. So we had to remove the sickle, and then it was really exhilarating, watching all that, because the sickle is gone in one direction, right? You're supposed to remove it in the same direction, and you're not supposed to fidget with it. You're like remove like instantly
at the same angle. Right.
And then he had to like see which artery is bleeding and when it's bleeding, and unrun the artery and get fine, and the patient was saved.
Oh,
and the patient lived. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was of the opinion, what you could we could just like
it couldn't get any wilder.
Yeah, it couldn't get wilder. Yeah, wildest, seriously. Yeah, so that was like a very wild experience.
Okay, so last question for today. Tell us about one heartwarming story that really made you think like, okay, this is why I'm doing this, to get this feeling.
Like I've had many nice moments, gratifying moments. Every day I feel happy that I'm doing this. But one really special incident, that was, I was working in a private hospital as a duty doctor, and that time there was this old uncle who came he fell in the restroom. So he had a fracture in his femur, which is the thigh bone. So he was rushed to the emergency, and then we had to like call the ortho team, and then we had to shift him to the ward. And then we had to get his surgery done as well. He needed plating, and so that was supposed to be done. Meanwhile, he was up there in the ward. I shifted him to the ward. Then I used to go see him every day for my rounds, for my ward rounds. I used to go talk to him. And then I was asking him, how are you feeling? And suddenly he's like telling his wife, doesn't he look like our grandson? And then they were like, and she was also like, yeah, he really resembles our grandson. And then I asked her, what does your grandson do? And then they tell me my grandson is in the US. Both my son and daughter, they're not with us. They're in the US with their family. We don't get to see them. Nobody's there. It's just the two of us taking care of each other. So they're feeling really bad that they miss their grandson. So but I was like, I had time. I am a duty doctor doing his rounds. I can finish my rounds in 1 minute. I can finish my rounds in 1 hour also. It's there was time there, and I sat with them. I told them, you can treat me as your grandson. What do you want? Did you eat? Did you take care of yourself? Because I wanted to be there for them genuinely. And I think that the more the patient gets comfortable with you, with the doctor, that also plays a role in the treatment. Like how much they are positively influenced and their mindset, like that they can be better. They're all happy, recovering. So I was talking to them again. Evening I used to go see them. The next day morning, and then he went for surgery. And then for 1 week I was in the emergency. I didn't get to see him.
Yeah.
After 1 week, I get a call from they call me saying, sir, they're asking for Dr. Vignesh from room number 510.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what happened? What did I do? Like, why are they paging me somewhere to a room? And then I go up, it's the same couple, and then they're like, we're getting discharged today. We just wanted to see you before we. Yeah.
How sweet.
I was like melting. Then we wanted to see you before we leave. And then I was like, oh, that's really sweet. And then they were like, this is our house. We live here. You should come for lunch. And then they were asking me, are you married? And I'm like, no, not yet. And they're like, you should get a girl just like you. She'll be very blessed to have you. And I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah, it was very heartwarming and heart touching. I was able to like be there for them and make a difference. Yeah, days like this like make you think like all the duty hours and everything are just fine. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
What's in this giant glass?
Come. So, since you're from Chennai, I would love for you to try this authentic Punjabi breakfast.
Wow.
So this is aloo ka parantha with pickles. It's like mixed pickle. This is curd, of course, and this is a huge, fat, giant glass of lassi.
Wow.
Which is a mandatory.
Oh God.
So let's try it.
Yeah, sure. Looking forward to
Just take a bite.
it. With the curd?
Yeah, dip it in curd like that. Cheers.
Okay, yeah. Cheers. Wow. I haven't had it in Chennai though. It's good.
Let's try the lassi now.
The lassi? Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Wow. This is too good.
You like it? It's authentic Delhi lassi, Punjabi lassi.
Punjabi lassi. Oh my God. I guess I can move to Delhi for the food.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that was all for today, guys. Thank you so much if you sticked around till the end. Do share this podcast with at least one person who might find value in it. And do subscribe so that we can bring you even more fun content next time. Until then,
Let me enjoy my food.